just going to mention for the purposes of being a little slow on pressing the record, my name is Peter Bird. I'm the principal here at CBI. And the purpose of this session is to inform the new parents and the children who are watching about as much as I can in this forum about what goes on at our school and the kinds of things that we would like you to know before the students start here next week. So just before I get into the presentation, because I will share my screen with a Google slide presentation just to give you some, I guess, reference points to view as we work through this, I want to introduce you to our school's vice principal, Ms. Power.
Good evening, everyone. At a distance, I just wanted to say hello before Mr. Brook starts the presentation. I'll have a chance to talk a little bit later, but as Sir said, this is an exciting time of the year normally for us to meet parents. Usually I come up here and say how good to see your faces. I can only see my own face right now, unfortunately for me. But looking forward to connecting with you all throughout the school year and excited to meet your children. So enjoy the presentation, and of course, we're always here if you need anything.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate that. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen with you. And again, as Ms. Power just pointed out, we're so used to the human interaction piece that it's just we're here in the office and we're trying to make this seem as normal and as interactive as we can. So if there's some awkwardness every now and then, we do apologize, but we're trying to make it as informative as possible for you. I'm now going to present the screen. We'll pick a tab and present. We started doing this a number of years ago at the request of a former school council member from one of our feeder schools. I'll say 12 to 14 years ago when I was principal at Presentation Junior High. And it was a great idea because even though we had been going to the school and meeting the children in grade 6, one piece we weren't doing was bringing and informing the parents. So we started with a presentation with some relevant information that we thought would be pertinent for parents to have their heads around, and of course for the students, so that when they finally do come to our school, it's not as a brand new place as you might think. And as I've said for many years, surviving the junior high years is not too bad. I've been at junior high myself now for the last 18 or 20 years as a principal. And quite often, the children do very well. Sometimes I kid around, and this session is usually more for the families and the parents more so than the students themselves. A lot of apprehension with parents, but don't worry, we'll get you through this as well. Just a few things to start. Our school demographics for the upcoming year, we have a projected enrollment of about 640 students. That is there's no question, that's a large junior high. We're quite busy with those numbers. 249 new grade 7s, 184 grade 8s, and 208 grade 9. So it is no question, it's a very busy and big school. And we'll get into some of the challenges with COVID-19 a little bit this evening, but give some idea how normally we're really busy even with the numbers. So we're especially busy with some of the protocols. You can see there the staff we have. There are 2 of us as administrators, myself and Ms. Power. We have 1.5 guidance counselors, and you're going to meet one of them now shortly, Ms. Daniels. We have 42 teaching units, and that doesn't necessarily that they're all full-time, because they're not, but there's 45 individual teachers around our staff this year. And you can see we have we have 50-something employees that are in this building every day, along with the 640 plus students. So we're looking at pushing 700 people, students and staff each day inside the building. So it's a big place, it's a busy spot, but it's also a wonderful place to go to school and a great place to go to work. Big thing we always push is the importance of relationships, and I think that's true in everything in society, really. The importance of making strong connections, obviously with our students and staff with students and with our families. Our school council is always a very active piece of our school, and there'll be more information on that in the coming weeks around. We do have a couple of vacancies on our school council this year because a couple of parents have moved on to the high school after being here for 3 years with their child attending Corner Intermediate. We're connected, of course, with the RNC, as you know, and the school nurses we have, Denise and Cheryl. and they've already been in touch with us and getting class lists and gearing up for needles and all the fun stuff. Mostly with grade 9s, but who knows? Maybe the vaccinations for COVID-19 happen through here as well. We haven't heard that. Just some assumptions that we can make. Communication has been something that we've always taken a lot of pride in. We always feel it's important to keep you informed and try to keep you in the loop as best we can. Undoubtedly, you will agree, I'm sure, you've already received a number of emails from me over the past week or two, and you're going to get a few more as early as tomorrow, probably an email with many more pieces of information around the COVID-19 protocols. But it starts with us having accurate PowerSchool information. There have been some cases where the information is not accurate. People change their cell phones and don't let us know the new number, or their email address has changed and they haven't told us. You may have moved across town and the address is inaccurate. So it's very important that you check for PowerSchool information. When your child comes to our school this year, all the data that was in the feeder school that your child is coming from, it's already in there. So hopefully it's accurate. Next week, your child will be given a form, not a form, but actual information sheet, how to access PowerSchool and get all the relevant information. We'd like for you to look at it because it's important. It won't just have the username and password for you to use. We'd like for you to verify the information, and if any changes need to be made, we'd like for you to contact one of our secretaries, and I'll give you some information on that shortly, so that they can update that information to make sure that it's accurate for you. As you know, school-wide email, we use the message sender within PowerSchool to do that, so we need accurate information. We post messages on Facebook, but that's only one-way communication. Please don't ask questions and expect a reply, because there's no way. We've had to hire 5 people full-time to keep up with Facebook comments and questions, so we don't respond to them, and the same with Twitter. Again, we do post most of our messages through Facebook and Twitter and email. Those are our 3 main sources of disseminating information. But again, please don't ask questions and expect a reply. School's website, we're lucky we have a number of teachers who have individual subject page links on the school website, but we also use the website to post relevant information as much as possible. We do find, however, that many parents today prefer email or Facebook or Twitter, so again, they'll be the 3 main ones. Your teachers or the teachers of your children will be using Google Classroom a fair bit at junior high. We've been doing that a number of years here. I'm sure many of you and your children have been used to using Google Classroom in the grade 6 school as well. So that's probably not going to be a brand new thing, but we certainly want to make sure that our students coming in know their username and password that was issued to them in grade 6, because it still is the same here. The next slide, or the next piece, I guess, is something that's normally a parent guardian teacher conference 3 times a year. That won't be the case until further notice, as you know, in the safe return to school plan, that they are postponed for now. We usually look forward to a curriculum night in a couple of weeks, meet the teacher, but that won't happen this year. Who knows, we may do another thing like this for the entire school population. We haven't quite decided, but certainly there won't be those sessions yet. We want you to feel very comfortable with communicating with your child's teachers. That's fundamentally one of the most important things you could be doing as a parent. Even if you feel your child is doing very well in school, academically, socially, and otherwise, but it won't hurt every now and then to shoot off an email to one of the teachers on a regular basis, certainly early on, just to see how things are. I wouldn't recommend doing it in the first week or 2, but certainly as a month goes by, you just might want to follow up. All of our email addresses are on our school's website, but the format that all NLESD staff have is our first name, last name, together as one word, no dots, just together as one word, at nlesd.ca. So mine is Peter Burt at nlesd.ca, and depending on who your child's teacher might be, it's much the same. We do have maybe 1 or 2, because provincially there may be 2 or 3 people with the exact same name. There might be a 1 or a 2 after their name, but that is clearly indicated on our website, so you can certainly find out which teachers that might apply to. Feel free to communicate with us. It happens on a regular basis. I have a lot of emails in my inbox right now for sure, loads and loads, and I'm trying to get through them as quickly as I can. But thanks for your patience as I work through those. And of course, the big thing is always making sure that you communicate with your child. Don't just be checking with the staff and listen to your child, but find that balance of communicating with your child, with your teachers, and with the school administration. The next piece of information that I want to give a brief talk to, but very brief, is our school development plan. There's a new model this year, and we really like it. And the reason is, as you can see by this, I guess, image that's posted, at the core of this, the center, is getting students engaged all the time. And there are all kinds of determinants and reasons and ways to go about engaging students so that learning occurs for all. And it's, varying instructional practice. I've mentioned about relationships already. As you know, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, teachers as learners, we're doing a lot of professional learning. We're looking at a lot of different things, the assessment practices we do. So this is something that we're always working on to try to get at the core, which is student engagement, and hoping that they become excited in the classroom, because the more excited they are, the more creativity results, and we believe that learning is maximized. I'm going to step away from my chair for a brief moment. I'm going to maintain physical distancing as I switch chairs, but Ms. Susan Daniels now is going to pop in the chair and have a few things to say. All right, Susan.
Good evening to the families of our grade 7 students, and of course, I know many grade 7 students are watching as well. As Mr. Burt mentioned, my name is Ms. Daniels, and I'm one of the guidance counselors at CBI. We look forward to meeting with the grade 6s in the elementary schools every spring, so we were really disappointed that we weren't able to do that transition piece this year, but really, really happy that we're able to deliver this tonight. As a side note, as I've been working in junior high school for years, it's going to be a bit of a different year for me as well, as I'm in the same boat that many of you are in, as my oldest child will be starting grade 7 here next week as well. So just like how things are with COVID-19, we are really in this together. I'm a full-time guidance counselor at CBI. I also work with Ms. Carla Budgel, who is a half-time counselor at our school, and she spends the other half of her time working as an instructional resource teacher. We always ask the grade 6s every year what they think guidance counselors do in schools. And we get lots of different answers, but eventually, it comes around to the word help. So we are here to help students when they're struggling in any way, if they're struggling in any way, shape, or form. We're here to help them through any issue that they're struggling with. An important point that we like to make to the students as well is that every single one of us needs help from time to time. It's simply a natural part of life. So we try to take the stigma away of coming to see a counselor. It's very much a normal thing here and at every school. And certainly, we welcome any student coming to talk to us whenever they have an issue that they're struggling with. Because we weren't able to do the transition in the spring, we are going to be visiting each of the grade 7 classes early this year. We're going to be talking to them about what we do, who we are, and how they can make an appointment with us if they ever felt that they needed to make an appointment with us. Some of these points are still in the process of being sorted out, like everything else we're planning to do as we move through this pandemic, but in terms of how students can get access to our services, all of this will be laid out really clearly to them once we know exactly the appropriate process. We also work very closely with our teachers, administrators, district personnel, families, caregivers, and stakeholders from various community agencies to support our students. Every single student has their own unique set of needs that oftentimes require different levels of support. A big part of our job is to facilitate that support for students and families. We love working with parents and caregivers in reaching certain goals for our students. Please don't ever hesitate to contact us if you have any questions or concerns. Ms. Budgell and I look forward to meeting our group of new sevens, and we want to assure you that even though these times are uncertain, we're here to help make your children's transition as smooth as possible. We really are in this together, working toward a common goal, creating a safe, supportive school environment that allows for learning, positive new experiences, and resiliency. Before I let Mr. Burt sit in his chair again, I just have a couple more specific notes that I need to add. For any of our grade 7 students requiring student supportive services, or who have an individual education plan or an individual support service plan, an IEP or an ISSP, these transition meetings with the elementary schools did occur in the spring. So we're well aware of the students who have these needs, and we're well aware of the recommendations that have been made by all of the elementary schools. So in the coming weeks, you can expect to hear from one of our IRTs. Our instructional resource teachers have a caseload of students, and they are going to be getting in touch with parents, caregivers when it comes to their particular students or children's student support service plan. You can expect to hear from them in the coming weeks. Also, for any new grade 7 student who has any medical needs that could require an emergency medical plan, please ensure that you have the necessary paperwork and submit it to the school. This includes students who have anaphylaxis, diabetes, epilepsy, or any other medical condition that could require intervention from school personnel. If you have any questions about this, or if you do need the appropriate forms, please contact me at the school and I can support you in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Job well done, as always. We've worked together for a number of years at Presentation Junior High and here, and we are so lucky to have Ms. Daniels and, of course, Ms. Budgell as our two guidance counselors at this school. As you know, Susan just mentioned, there's some things that are very important for many children, and feel free, as this slide indicates, to contact Ms. Erica George, but she'll be in touch with her service delivery team for students who are receiving supports, and the case manager for your child will be in touch for transition meetings and the conversations. Okay, now we get to some of the funny slides that I've shown over the years, and some of these slides are I've been using them for a number of years, but they're still quite relevant for sure, because during adolescence, you know, a kid does change physically and for sure. But we want to make sure that we know that adolescents are going through challenging times, and there's socially, for sure, kids are going to meet new friends and people they haven't met before, and they're going to be feeling that little social awkwardness in the beginning and nervousness, but that's natural. Emotionally, research is very clear that adolescents struggle with their emotions because the hormones are changing in the body, and things are just making things different and unique. And as adults, we know we went through it. Physical changes happen, and they continue to happen right on through, not just adolescence, but certainly for many people, right through until early 20s. Intellectually, for those of you who aren't aware, around some brain research, the ages 10 to 14, probably other than gestation, some of the, I guess, biggest growth in brain development. So quite often, abstract thinking as an example, children develop that as they get older. So some struggle early from 10 or 11 or 12, but they usually catch up with their peers usually by 13 or 14. But that's rooted in research for sure. And spiritually, children, they always they grow up whatever they were learning in their home or with their families and friends, and they're out now into, I guess, a little more of the world, and they're being exposed to other things. So even some of the spiritually kind of experiences that they have at that point might be somewhat changing, but that's just natural. Again, we all went through it. I think we've all given into this, and some of us still give into it. Well, peer pressure is real, and again, it's just another cartoon. I use the last Bergens a fair bit, but be mindful of the fact that peer pressure is indeed a reality. And as a parent, you need to be in tune who your kid is with, who your child is hanging out with, and try not to prejudge, because that's not fair either. Because you need to be an open mind. Just it's about increasing your awareness about who your child is with. I'm going to just start this slide briefly, and then I'm going to pass it to Ms. Power, who's going to speak a little bit detail about some of the things we do. But, bullying is absolutely not tolerated in this school or any school I've ever been involved in at all. And those of you who maybe had children come to this school while I've been here, or maybe you had older children who went through presentation junior high when I was there as principal, you know that I take this very seriously, and I deal with every one that we are made aware of, absolutely. And we make sure that our staff are vigilant in dealing with these things. But we also need your support to I guess, play a better role. In short, I don't think that our school is exempt from it. I don't sit here for a moment to pretend that things don't happen, but rest assured, when we're made aware of things, we dig into it and we assess the situation, and we deal with it very appropriately. So I'm now going to ask Ms. Power to come over. We're going to physically distance as we switch chairs, and she will give some information in this area.
Thank you, sir. We are playing some musical chairs. I hope everyone can see me okay. Not quite as tall as Mr. Burt. And I hope my hair is okay. I can't see myself, but it's been a long few busy days of excitement getting ready for next week. As Mr. Burt said, I just want to speak briefly. Sir referenced at the beginning what is called our school development plan. Every school has a school development plan that focuses on a number of areas. And as Mr. Burt mentioned, one of our emphasis in our school development plan is, of course, relationships and having engaged students. So that's always our focus, and that will continue to be our focus this year. There are two main goals in the school development plan right now, one that focuses on academics and one that focuses on what we call safe and caring schools. This is my third year as an administrator in this building with Mr. Burke, but I've been in this building as a safe and caring teacher before. So I just wanted to take a moment and speak with you a little bit about the safe and caring policy. We think it's really important for parents to know a little bit about how we operate and how we focus on having a safe and inclusive building. And of course, just to let you know where you can find some information if you need it. The Safe and Caring Schools policy is, of course, a government policy. So I just put the website there. You can find it pretty easy if you search Google. And there are a number of components to the policy. So those are listed there. I'm not going to review them all. I just wanted to draw your attention to that policy. Mr. Burt referenced bullying, bullying prevention, intervening when bullying happens, educating students about bullying is a large component of this policy. So you'll certainly find information in the policy about that. And as a school, we have very specific procedures and protocols for dealing with that and communicating with parents. So we think it's really important you're aware of that. And you can certainly do more research on your own if you like. And I also wanted to draw attention to something that's called digital citizenship. This is a really relevant area, not just for our students and your children, but for adults and society in general. As we continue to navigate a digital world, not unlike we're doing here in the office tonight. We work with all students in the building to continue to educate them on how to use digital citizenship characteristics, how to be CBI students even when they're online, using social media safely and responsibly, and that's something that we emphasize. Provincially, there are always 3 lessons that we do in digital citizenship. So as a school, 3 times a year, everyone shuts down to focus on these topics. But rest assured, teachers and administrators and guidance are working with students daily about some of these topics. So just wanted to make you aware of that, and that's really highlighted in our school development plan. Certainly that will be emphasized this year with some COVID protocols and online learning. As we learn together as a school, your children will be really working with their teachers on how to do that responsibly and respectfully.
Another cartoon on school expectations. As you take a read of that, typically I would joke and say a lot of us remember going through school when this is what it looked like. It was a lot of no, don't do this, don't do that. Certainly times have changed, but I have to question, there might be a few more no's this year with COVID-19 protocol. However, that doesn't change our general expectations for our students, for how we would like for them to represent themselves and our school community. So there are school expectations that are the same no matter what. There's a couple of things that will, of course, look different because of COVID-19 and the school reentry, and you'll be getting lots of information about that. But I just want to emphasize that we focus with our students at the beginning of the school year and all year long on expectations. It's an opportunity for you to see our behavior matrix. You'd be familiar with this from your previous school. Every school has a behavior matrix. Ours focuses on respect for self, respect for others, respect for the environment, and of course, respect for learning. And just wanted to give you a little highlight of those areas because of course, when your children come to school starting next week, we spend lots of time orienting them to the new building, our expectations, and helping them along the way. We don't expect anyone is going to know overnight what to do in a new school building. So we really take extra time to model those behaviors, and we're going to work with your children to go through all the settings of the school, including some of the new COVID-19 protocols. Teachers will be working with them every day to help them understand how school is going to look for them, and we'll be patient and take time because we know that in grade 7, especially in a new building, there's a lot to learn. So if you have any questions, most of this information is all on our school website. Don't hesitate to talk to your children about the school behavior matrix because those are the school rules. And Mr. Burt and I, of course, are a big part of that process. So we're here to support your children. I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Burt to dig a little deeper into some of the most important rules that you probably have some questions about. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Power. Absolutely. Just to touch on a point that Ms. Power just brought up, we're not no people all the time. I know we do run a fairly say a tight ship. We do very well. Students are very respectful of us and of the teachers, and I'm very proud to say that this school is very well behaved. There's no question about that. The reality is, though, with COVID-19, and you're going to see from me tomorrow, a list of protocols and practices because of COVID-19 that are going to be seen as being very restrictive. But that's intentional because we're required to do so. So I don't know if an apology up front is right, but but we're going to say to you, we're going to be fairly firm in the beginning, or certainly with as long as COVID-19 guidelines and protocols are in, there's going to be strict adherence to those kinds of guidelines that you will get. And it's about a 2 or 3 page document you're going to get tomorrow about the do's and the don'ts and the shalls that have to be followed when the students come here next week. But let's get back to the presentation briefly. Cell phones. We're not anti-cell phone at all. We're, we're anti anything that's going to get in the way of learning. And we have a lot of creativity with our teachers who, with the guided, expectations of what and how cell phones can be used to support the teaching and learning in the classroom. We have a lot of creative teachers and creative students who offer ideas around how they can learn through different apps and other things through their phone. So we don't have a ban on them. We certainly have some pretty strict rules when it comes to, if you're not going to use them the right way, it'll likely be warned and then maybe taken by the teacher after 2 or 3 warnings in the classroom. But if it gets to a point where it comes to the office, because a child has 3 or 4 times, if the phone comes here, the child loses the phone for the balance of the day. They got to come and pick it up from either me or Ms. Power. And that's when we give them the clear verbal warning at dismissal, when we give it back to them, of course, to bring home, is that if it happens another time, that a parent has to come to the school to get the phone. So make sure you know that up front. That's worked very well for us in the last 3 or 4 years. We don't have many of those circumstances. I think we may have had 1, maybe 2 students last year that parents had to come and get their phones. So again, more on that from the classroom teachers when your child comes here. But it's not a requirement to have a cell phone. So don't think they're required, because even if those kinds of activities are happening in the classroom. We have lots of iPads and Chromebooks and the like. So it's not a requirement. We just want you to know what the expectation is. Summer school is important. It is very important. And even though we'd love for you to follow us on Twitter and Facebook for your information, as noted on this, attendance is important. And again, I made some reference to research earlier. Research is very clear on those who attend school usually do better. That's generally speaking. I know there are always exceptions to all rules, really, and all things that all the research. But yeah, make sure your child is up, come to school, and be on time. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. Being late regularly is an issue. Don't be late during the COVID-19 coming in and out, or you will likely not be given access to the school. Just want to say that clearly, because we don't have the staff and personnel to keep an eye on those who are just randomly showing up late. We're not talking about children who have orthodontist appointments or there's some other emergency. It's important that in that case that you as a parent should email the teachers of your child if they're going to be out. Email is preferred over phone call. And I only say that because, and again, I joke about this every year, but yeah, I've had students who've had other people disguise themselves as mom or dad, but they are probably a friend or a cousin. So the email, at least it's in writing and it's from the parent or guardian. So please do that. Just another little funny, I guess, on the be on time thing. But it's very clear that the mother in this case was chasing the kid, making sure they got to school on time because the kid was thinking about being late or on skip. We need you to be that parent to make sure that you have high expectations for your children to be not only at school and attending, but being on time. And if you're going to go to lunch, saying that the lineup at Luigi's was too long today, sir, is not an excuse that is acceptable at all. By all means, make sure you talk about that as a family. And if you're permitting your child to do something like that for lunch, that they can't come back late. Looking at some of the myths, that there's no homework or any assignments in junior high. Well, that's not the case. There are lots of assignments and lots of homework to do. Absolutely. And in some cases, homework isn't just what's been assigned by the teacher. We encourage children to do homework, not too much all the time, of course, but, it's okay to do some to stay on top or to reinforce the learning from today. But we certainly want to make sure things are passed in on time. But again, as this Glasbergen comic thing shows up, 2 days late, but normally it's 4. But that's not going to be acceptable here because we do have consequences for late assignments outlined in our assessment and evaluation policy. Specific details on that, of course, can be gathered and acquired from your child's teachers. Don't worry, your children will know what the policies are. Don't be afraid to talk to them either. We have all kinds of assessment happening. Teachers are going to share what they do, but teachers today don't just arrive at a grade or an assessment based upon tests and assignments. I mean, there's all kinds of other things happening. Science labs and there's in-class work. Teachers can see if a child can do all the practice and is doing very well in the classroom, even if they don't do well on certain piece of assessment. They know when a child is actually aware and has mastered the concept. So that formative assessment is a big part of our learning. And by the way, having to say your dog eating homework is not going to fly. It's been tried before. Daily timetable. Very quickly, and this is I just edited this slide tonight briefly. Our daily timetable is a 7-day cycle, 5 periods a day. That's 35 periods, and I'm going to break that down for you in the next slide. But because of COVID-19, our doors used to open at 8:10 for our breakfast program, but we can't do that this year. So our doors will not open until 8:25. That should say doors open. That's the typo. I missed the S there. Mistakes. We all make them. So 8:25. Please don't drop your child off at 7:50 and expect that they're going to be allowed in. And even if it's pouring rain and stuff, we're not permitted for legal reasons until teachers are on duty at 8:25. When we had breakfast program, which we can't have right now because of the volunteers, the way it works, we would normally let kids in at 8:10, and they could go to the cafeteria, and that's always worked really, really well. And once COVID-19 restrictions are lifted, we will go back to doors unlocking at 8:10. But they won't unlock now until 8:25, and the front doors are programmed by computer. So the rest of it is outlined there. Recess and lunch details are going to come out to you tomorrow. How that's going to look, we're going to do some staggering. But fundamentally, recess and lunch, children are going to be bringing their own lunches. There might be some cafeteria service starting the second or third week. We're still working on details with the provider. But, we're going to try to give them the opportunity to, if they want to leave their classroom, to go outdoors, or if they want to go to the cafeteria to get something, but they will have to go back and eat it in their assigned classroom. Again, more on that in the information you'll get tomorrow. And dismissal is at 2:50. How does the cycle break down? As I mentioned, it's a 7-day cycle, 5 periods per day. English language arts is every day, 7 times in a cycle, and the same with mathematics. Science, or if you're a French immersion student, sciences is 5 periods in a cycle. Social studies, French immersion with sciences humaines, 4 periods. And I don't need to read them all, but you can see all of the subjects. But I'd like to bring you to the last 2. We used to have a choice, well, we still have a choice program, but where students would select. But now all grade 7 students must do technology and art and home ec and music. They all do it throughout the year. But what we do is, for those 4 courses, your children will do 2 courses in the fall semester, which is September till the end of January, and they'll do the other 2 after Christmas, or say 1st of February till the end of June. So, for example, the art and music is probably something that your child will be doing in term 1, or your child might be doing technology and home economics in term 1, and then that'll flip for term 2. So that totals 35 periods. This year, things are a little bit different. Just want you to know that even before our students come here next week, so grade 7s only will be coming here next Wednesday. 8s and 9s won't come until the next day. So we have a little plan, and you'll get all that tomorrow and again on Tuesday, the day before, but all the details around how that first day is going to look. But your child will be in what we call a cohort. In grade 7, it works well for the most part, because they will be together as their own group for most of the day. That's what a cohort means. The difference is that they will stay in the same assigned classroom, except, of course, they will go out for phys ed. And by the way, we're telling everybody, be prepared to go outdoors a lot for phys ed. Mr. Donovan and Mr. Sparks, outstanding phys ed teachers we have. They have great activities. But in COVID-19, we're going to go outdoors. They go outdoors a lot, but unless it's a rainy and a really cold day, they're going outside. So please dress appropriately and have appropriate clothing. They will update all of you and the students, but they should do to be ready for phys ed. Not only will students stay in class except for, and the asterisk there is phys ed, but also those choice courses we talked about, the music and the art and the technology and the home ec. Some of that stuff will happen in the classroom that your child is assigned, but there will, of course, will come a time when there's something got to happen in the home ec lab. The cookies got to be baked, and in the shop the kids got to not only learn about safety in the classroom, but they then need to know what a backstyle looks like and what a Phillips screwdriver looks like. So they will be going to the shop as well. So just to keep that in mind. And in music, we're making a few adaptations there with the music program, but we're really excited about where that's headed as well. Lockers, yes, students get their own locker, but it's probably not going to happen for another week or 2. Again, because of COVID-19, we're trying to roll out lockers in a manner that the safe return to school plan advises. So we're working very hard on a number of things, and that's just one of the things that will not happen for a week or 2. So make sure your child ideally comes with a backpack that will have everything in it that they need for the day, including their lunch in most cases. And they'll be staying in a classroom just like they've done in grades, K to 6 for the most part. Again, I know it's not what you probably wanted as a junior high student. You wanted to go room to room. That'll come once the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. So please come prepared with that. Cafeteria, as I mentioned, will be open. We're looking at how we're going to because we normally have about 175 or 200 students in our cafeteria every day. But of course, we can't do that. So we are looking at the limited number of seating, but we still plan to have a serving line in through one door, get served at the wicket, and then you go out another door, either go outside or back to your classroom to eat it. So again, more details on that to follow. Something we are going to look at is probably having a pre-order process. Some have suggested we could do that with a Google form that parents and or students can access in advance and place the orders. Junior high, we don't have agendas for students. We used to for years, but we were finding they weren't using them, and we were spending a lot of money on providing them. So that's not to say that you as a family don't want to go out and buy your own agenda and work through that. But the difference in junior high versus an elementary school is an elementary school teacher has 25 or 28 students pretty much at the most. All of our teachers have at least 130, 140 students. And in some cases, some of our teachers have 270, 280 students altogether. And of course, it would be impossible to be signing off on the agenda every day because they would not be able to keep up with that. But this is where I was saying earlier, we want you to always communicate with teachers as much as you can. Video security system. About a half an hour ago, I emailed maybe an hour ago now, I emailed all of you something that we're required to do every year. And that is the fact that Corner Brook Intermediate does have a video security system. And we've been using it for years, and we will continue to use it. I made reference to the policy that you can look at on the district website. Feel free to have a perusal of it. If you have any questions, certainly reach out to me, and I'll try to clarify it for you. This is a slide that we're quite proud of, but the extracurricular and the co-curricular things this year are going to be very limited. We're still working on clarification on some things, but for the most part, all indoor extracurricular sports and those kinds of things won't be happening. We're still trying to find out what things can happen because we're hearing some outdoor things might be, but we're still waiting on that. But we've also been so proud of a very successful and Pride Alliance group. Look no further than the front of our school and our crosswalk out front, and something we're very proud of. We have tech clubs every Thursday afternoon normally. Not this year, but we normally do. Our school musical has always been so successful. Last year's Guys and Dolls, if you didn't see it, or the ones in the previous years, whether it was Grease or Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, we tremendous talent of students in our school. And it looks like we were going to do one this year, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. But certainly it's something that your child in the next 3 years will have an opportunity to participate. Parking lot. I'm sure you've heard about how strict, well, maybe how strict I might be on the parking lot, but it's all about safety, folks. And if you're coming to the school to visit, you can't this year, but to come in unless you've been asked to come to a meeting. But we want you to use the parking lot that's located between the tennis courts and the district office over there. We don't want you to come on our front parking lot here in front of the building at any time, really, certainly to come and park. And the church has been very good. We have a good relationship with the Roman Catholic Church next door. They use our lot at times, and certainly not during the school day. But we ask that you not use that lot if then you see there's a funeral there some afternoons. So if you're here to pick up your child after school someday, and you normally use the church lot, and you see obviously it's a busy building, we ask that you respect and avoid that space. We also ask that, like the roadway that goes up between the church parking lot and our lanes, and I'll get to the lanes now in a moment, please don't park there because that just creates a lot of congestion. Trust me, there's a lot of space in that parking lot between the tennis courts and the district. I'd say there's probably 30 to 32 that seldom get used. But parents seem to want to be stuck on the side of the street and up on the grassy bank. Please avoid that. Now let's get to the 2 lanes in front of our school. The inside lane, which is closest to the building, is strictly limited to our school buses for obvious reasons, safety reasons. If a fire truck has to come through, they got 30 exception, or an emergency vehicle such as an ambulance. So don't come in that inside lane at any time. It's just not fair. Some people will say, well, I'm only there for a moment. Well, no, you should never be in that inside lane. So please respect that out of courtesy and safety. The big concern I have if you don't adhere to that is, kids are being kids sometimes, and it could be a couple of kids in the main entrance and carrying on, and all of a sudden one kid runs out the door, which we probably have all done that. And all of a sudden, if there's a car going through, well, then that's not going to be a good scene. So stay away from that lane. The outside lane is only for dropping off. That's it. And usually, preferably only in the mornings, which is fine. You come in, you can drop off. But if the line is filled with 14 cars, please don't wait to get right to the main entrance before your child gets out of the car. There's a nice sidewalk there, so when you stop, that's when the child should get out, rather than waiting, because then it cuts down on the number of stops, and the people behind who've got to get to work don't become frustrated with those up front who are stopping all the time. We also don't want you to use that lane if you're going to come pick up somebody. Again, it's not for picking up. It creates congestion and lineups and problems, and then people get frustrated. They drive over the sidewalk, they spill over into the inside lane, and it's creating a safety hazard. You will see pylons out there. We ask that you only use it for dropping off. Please don't come in at any time to pick anybody up. After 3:30 each day, if you have a reason to be at the school and you can't get a spot to park, and sometimes when you get to a point where we have parent-teacher nights and there's a crowd or a music concert, we don't mind parents using the bus road around the building and parking to the right-hand side and coming in. Just that you can't go there during the school day, because back there, lots of times students are out on the property. This is where we normally encourage you to volunteer. We still want you to think about it. And, for example, the breakfast program, while normally we have parents and people come in, what we might do is get some coordination going on still, and probably have some delivery because we still plan to have a grab and go in the hallways, not necessarily what we used to have in the cafeteria, but we're still planning on setting up some tables and having certain items on the table, so when children come in, they can grab something and go on to the classroom. So you still may need some coordination for that, and I know Ms. Power is overseeing that with a couple of other people, so certainly you can reach out if you would like to be a part of that. And of course, school council, if that's something you're interested in, email me directly, and I will put your name on the list of potential school council members, and we'll go through that process. Now, it's easier for me to ask for questions like this, because this is normally a place where I do throw it out there. But as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a new technology for us. We've stepped outside the box to try something new. And one of the things we didn't realize until after the fact that this forum in live streaming limits this Q&A back and forth. But as I mentioned in the beginning, if you have immediate burning questions around COVID-19 things, I'll suggest two things. The district has on their website a frequently asked questions area. Please go look at that. Your answer might be there. Or number two, school-specific things, as I mentioned, that information will come to you very likely before lunchtime tomorrow, but certainly before the end of the day tomorrow, you'll get a lengthy email from me, or it might be an attachment with a lot of the protocols that we will be starting the year with. But as we know, things are changing all the time, whether it's the busing regulations, which has been a tremendous amount of work for us here at the school, especially with things that changed. And of course, then when the federal government came along with lots of money to help us out, things changed again. But anyway, let's just say things are changing day by day. And face masks or not, we've become very used to using our face masks, and it's getting easier and easier every day. So we do want to tell you that your child, you should make sure you are preparing your child, whether they ride the bus or are getting a ride with you on that first day, that they arrive with a mask that you have provided. Once they come in the building and they're in the classroom, the school will also issue a mask to your child. So then they'll have at least two. So we want you to take that, of course, upon yourself to make sure that they have theirs first, and we'll give them a second one for sure. Not quite sure if there's something, is there anything else that you think, Ms. Powell or Ms. Daniels, that, okay. Well, just before I guess, sign off on this, I want to thank Mr. Rick Collins, who's our learning resource teacher. He's not in the background in the building. He's in his own house, but he's kept an eye on making sure this in the background set up. He's the one who gave us this wonderful idea. Very technologically savvy, and we appreciate your help, Mr. Collins. And Mr. Collins is also someone that the students will get to know because he's probably going to be working on the usernames and passwords, making sure that students and children have those in place. So without further delay, I will finally say that this has been recorded, and we are going to post this to the website maybe in another hour from now or less. I don't want to speak for Mr. Collins, but he's very likely going to be the one doing it. And again, we tried something new. This is new for us, so we wanted to do this because we wanted to show all of you the importance of trying to have as normal start to the school year as possible. But we want to let you know that we're not afraid to do the new things in these new times. We want you to think about that, and we want the children to be thinking the same way. Very good. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I'm going to sign off now, and I wish you all the best. And we'll be in touch. Keep an eye out for my emails. And as I mentioned, grade 7s only next Wednesday, and that information will be outlined in the coming emails. Have a wonderful evening. I didn't keep you too long. 52 minutes is not too bad at all. Have a good evening.